Hello. Oh, I gotta mute that thing. No echo allowed. Hey Sean, how's it going? I had a stream earlier and this stupid desoldering iron decided that it wanted to stop working. So I'm a crazy person. I'm gonna see if I can take it apart. I get all the screws? I think so. If I can get this to work, I'm gonna finish the Apple IIe board real quick, and then I have a Mac to build, which would be insane. But I really want to see if I can get this thing to suck some solder before I get into that. Because this thing pissed me off earlier. Hey Jack, how you doing? Anybody else watching? Make yourselves known. Get the screws out of this thing. Are these captive or? Oh yeah, no, they're not. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I really have to take that apart to take that off? Wow, that's annoying. All right. So what happened with this thing was I was trying to desolder what was left of the solder on an Apple IIe that somebody else had already worked on, and it turned out there was a whole bunch of flux, and I think it might have gummed up the works in here, because after about 60 solder joints it just said, nope, I'm done. What do we got here? Is there flux stuck in this guy? Never taken this thing apart before either, so this will be fun. Oh, springs are falling out everywhere. Great. Is there solder? There might be something stuck in there. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to put this back together though, because there's a lot of weird little parts falling out. Jack, it was just flux went in it, I think. And I was taking apart, where did I put the board? No, that's not it. I'm not even sure where I put it. I took apart, or I was desoldering RAM socket holes on an Apple IIe, and there's 64 pins, and I got about 61 in, and then it just said, nope, I'm not going to work anymore. Sorry. I'm going to need to look up how to reassemble this. And, you know, I just got stuck. Let's see. There's the Hacko site. I'm going to look at the instructions. Yeah, I had one of the cheap beige ones that has the solder sucker in the base, or like the vacuum's in the base. And then that one got jammed up all the time. This one has been really good. I was like, this is the most awesome thing ever. And then today it just said, nope, I'm done. I'm done working. It sounded like it worked okay. And then it was just like, okay. So, got two springs and this rubber thing and this thing. I think this goes with the spring through here. Let's see if that fits. Yeah, that fits there. I think the little spring goes in there. Ah, I just dropped it. Damn it. All right, hang on. Oh, this thing's pissing me off. There's the little spring. Okay. Well, I thought the Heiko was the way to go, or Hako, however you say it. And then I end up with these random parts, and I'm just not sure. I may just try to figure this out later, because I really don't understand how this goes back together now. I mean, I just took it apart, but I'm just like, I'm a electrical engineer, not a mechanical engineer, and I get kind of upset when stuff like this doesn't just work. This should go right there. Why don't you fit? You go like that. Yeah. Okay. And you go like that. I get it. So this goes across this, and then through there. Yeah. And the spring goes in there, I bet. Okay. What I don't know is, where did this little nut come from? I didn't take that off. Maybe there's just something broken in this. Yeah, Geek, I'll look back. But also I have the manual. I think for now, this is not my main goal tonight. I think for now I'm going to take all these little pieces, I'm going to put them in this bag, and let's do something fun. Let's build a real Hulkintosh. I got these 2 screws, I got these 4 screws, and that goes to an Apple IIe, so we're not going to put that in there. And I'm going to just put all these bits of this away. That won't fit in the bag. We're not going to do any soldering right now. What we're going to do is we're going to build a Mac, because that's way more fun. Yeah, you're right. So, here's the deal. I have this Mac. Just your regular old green Mac, right? And there's a problem with this. And I've had an argument with this about several people, is they say that a Mac SE and a Mac SE 30 have the same chassis. Well, I don't agree with them. And I'll show you why. Let me add a camera. Give me a second. I'm going to add a camera to the stream. Give me a minute to get it set up. And this will be shaky, but that'll work. Not sure if that's plugged in. Hold on. Hold, please. No, it's not plugged into USB. Okay. And no. I don't know if I can actually have 3 cameras on this thing. Which is kind of annoying because I should be able to. Oh, come on. Why? Why don't you want to work for me? Well, I can't get this third camera to work. I'll try to do what we got here. So, this is my SE, right? And you put, everybody says, oh, you can just put an SE30 board in it. But, I'm not sure if you can see that. But do you see where the power connector is? Right here. It's not lined up. You can't actually plug the cord in. Like, it won't physically fit. Because you know why? The early SE didn't have the same size hole as the SE30. So what I have to do to make this work is I have to change the whole frame, which is a pain in the butt. But that's what we're going to do. So let's pull, make sure everything's unplugged. Yep. And we're going to pull the motherboard out. And don't forget the speaker. So here's a very nice SE30 motherboard that Joe from Joe's Computer Museum did a recap on for me, and it works perfectly. But we're going to take that and we're going to put it aside. Jack, I'm not sure, and almost everybody thinks that these are totally, completely interchangeable. And the thing is, this shell came from a really early squirrel cage fan version, and they must have decided to change the hole later. So what I've got to do is remove the whole shell, and that includes taking this floppy drive out of here. So bear with me for a moment while I yank that, because I know this floppy drive works, so we're going to use it in the final setup. There are supposed to be 4 screws, but I only have 2 for some reason, so that speeds this up a little bit. And there we go. Floppy drive out. And this particular floppy drive has a green blue SCSI adapter on it, which I think that's Jay's favorite color. Now I have a couple SE FDHDs, and they happen to have compatible parts, but the other issue is the PDS slot, and this doesn't have a hole for it at all. It's like they didn't even recognize that a PDS slot was a thing. So now I'm going to take out the Torx stuff, and that's a bunch of screws that hold the bracket in place, and I'm going to try to do this without having to take out the whole power supply, but we'll see. There's little bits of junk here. I've had this machine laying around for almost a year. I'll take that out. And there's 2 Phillips that connect the bracket to the power supply. I think I need a smaller screwdriver bit for that. There we go. That comes out. And that comes out. Come on. There you go. Why would you remove FDHD from the case? The FDHD is one of the cooler versions of this thing. Okay. I think there's one more screw there somewhere. I haven't done this in a while. How can I do this without taking the whole thing apart? Maybe I can take these screws out. Oh, well, the only difference between an SE and a FDHD is 3 chips. So if you can get your hands on a swim and the right ROMs, I don't know, I wouldn't take the logo off. It's cool looking. All right, let's take that out of there. And let's see what we get. Okay, that is coming loose from that. So let's take the power supply and the analog board and just sort of flip them. And then I can get to that last screw that holds this cage on. Okay, that's the last screw. So this comes free, and you can see the hole for the power and video connector is not very big. There's not a whole lot of information written on on the frame. There's a part number, but let's set that aside. I'm going to take a real SE30 case, and we're gonna steal that part from it. So let me put this on the ground, and then let me grab an SE30. So this here is one of my SE30 donors, and the reason it's a donor is because it was severely damaged in shipping. It doesn't look like it from the front, but when I take off the lid, and I show you the inside, everything is broken off from the shell, and there's cracks, and it's just a loose mess. Like half of it's not connected to the chassis, and the CRT is dead too. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to unscrew the frame from this. See, that doesn't even matter because it's broken. That's already broken. I think I just might have to take the analog board connection off, and then we'll be ready to look at it. All right, so let me unscrew these. I think the analog board and power supply in this still works, but I've never actually fully tested it. I'll have to take a look at that sometime. This shell looks nice, so this might be a contender for some sort of goofy upgrade later on. I'll take these 4 screws out that hold the analog board in. One, 2, 3, and 4. All right. So, screws are out. Oh, got to take the ground off too. Almost forgot. That's on there really tight. All right, got that. And let's see if these separate. Come on. There you go. Oh, by the way, if you've never taken apart a device with a CRT in it, be very careful. I don't want you to hurt yourself. If you touch the wrong thing, you can hurt yourself. So just a disclaimer. Anyway, the answer to the question about the logic board is that the logic board from this was savable, and it's one of the ones that Joe recapped for me. I got really lucky, and this, even though it was smashed to crap, it didn't have a battery leak, and it was salvageable. All right, so screw comes out. Screw comes out. Should be 5 of these. Let's see if it's the same. There's a third one, and that's broken off, and that's all I can do. Okay, so this frame comes out. Let's put the frame there. Let's put it there. I want it to fall over and kill something. And this rest of this can go sit over on the side. And now let's compare these frames, just so I know I'm not insane. So here's an SE30 frame. I don't know if you can see that very well. And here's an original SE frame from the very first version. Now look at the difference in the size of the power supply hole. This one's tiny, this one's huge. And then also, even though the SE always came with a PDS slot, they intended you to put a flat card in that sat on top of the motherboard. They didn't intend you to put something that was tall that stuck up the side. So there's not even a hole here. There's a big old hole here and a bracket. So this was never going to work for me to use it as an SE30. It would have worked fine for an SE or an SE FDHD. I even had a SE with a radius accelerator, which sits flat on the motherboard, and it worked fine. But then I got my SE30 boards, and I'm like, I'm going to put it in there, and this just didn't work. So this is why we're putting this frame into the machine. Hey Gregory, the swim chips, they aren't easy to find. Basically, you need to get one off of an SE FDHD or a couple other Macs that use the same thing, but mostly the other Macs used the square chips, not the dips. So they're hard to find. Now there's somebody I heard that's making an adapter so that you can use a chip like off of a 2CX or whatever and stick it into an SE. I don't know if they ever finished that project because honestly, there's not a whole lot of demand for that. But it is doable. And even the SE30 does not use the same chip. Now this thing was in a big tumble, so this frame is a little tweaked. Let me see if I can bend it sort of straight. And then there's screws in here that go into plastic that's just broken off. So I should be able to take that out. So yeah, that's just broken off nubs. This kind of reminds me of Adrian Black and his Commodore videos, broken plastic. You don't usually find that on Macs, but got one here. And then there's one more down here. The larger cutout at the front. Well, that's power. Well, let's look at the board. Power, SCSI floppy. And then I think that was the second floppy on the original SE. I'm not sure. There's nothing really there. I think this version accommodated everything that would have been on an original SE and an SE30. They did sell both at the same time for a while. But all I know is the original one will not work with the SE30. So I'm going to take this new one and I want to put it in our new Mac. Let me grab that. Be careful since it's all sort of loose. So we've got a original SE analog board and power supply. We've got a CRT from a Apple IIc green screen. And we've got a chassis from an actual SE30. And I'm going to route the speaker a little bit different than stock because I really hate the way they run it stock. I'm going to run it up through this way. Let's see. Is that right? Yeah. So that goes like that. Are you good? Yeah. All right, so we need to put 5 Torx screws back in here. Hey VHS, what's going on, man? PLCC, yeah, that's right. That's what they call it. I don't always remember all those technical terms. Now, when you are screwing into retro plastic, or in this case plastic it's not retro, but I've already screwed into, make sure you turn it backwards a little bit before you start screwing it in so that you don't make new grind marks on that plastic, because you really only want one set of teeth going into that thing. There's 1 screw. There's 2 screws. This one is hard to get to. There's 3 screws, right and then left. Or sorry, left and right. And then there's 2 at the bottom. And I gotta say that MacFX, who makes these cases, got all this stuff spot on as far as placement and accuracy is to the original case, because everything just lines up. All right, there's all the Torx. Tandy 1000 keyboard. Didn't you just buy one of those? Is that why you bought it, so you could clone it? All right, I'm going to take the analog board and I'm going to put it back in the thing. And if you're ever doing this, one thing you want to watch out for is make sure the brightness knob at the front left of the case makes it into its little channel, because if it doesn't, you'll either bend it or you'll break it. And how you can do that is when I put it in here like this, turn the knob and make sure that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do, and then make sure the 4 screw holes line up. All right, I got all 4 screw holes lined up. Let me go ahead and put the 4 screws back in. I'm going to use the screws from the SE30 since that's what I took this chassis from. I'm going to go in. All right, you just got to nudge it. It's not quite lining up. Let's see. Oh, I see. I'm going to put this on its side. Might help you see better anyway. Okay. Go in your spot. There you go. Well, VHS, you should. I should send you a 2E keyboard. I know MacFX made some, but I'd like to make more. And I don't have time to make another template. I'm working on the Lisa. Okay, there goes 1 screw. Don't put the screw in all the way, by the way, till you got all of them in a bit. That way you're sure they're all lined up. Keep making sure your volume knob is, or your, brightness knob is kind of where you want it. And there's this little shield here that sits between the analog board and the rest of the system. Gotta make sure that's doing its thing. See if I can find the holes for that. There's one. These can be a little bit fiddly to line up and get in. All right, there goes one, and let's put the last screw in. Witches. Yes, I understand what you mean. What I'm trying to figure out how to do is make some key caps that have like an open Apple, closed Apple, stuff that looks like an Apple keyboard. I found companies that will let me order custom things, but some of them are just really iffy about anything with an Apple logo on it. And I see people selling t-shirts and disc sleeves and all kinds of junk with Apple logos on it, and I don't understand why they don't get bothered. All right, so here we go. We've got an analog board, power supply, and a frame in this here SE. So what's next? Well, I'm not going to take that board that was in it. We're going to use this crazy thing that I built. And that's, let's change the camera just for a sec. That's this crazy thing. This SE board with a adapter, an O40 card, and a video card. So instead of one circuit board, we got 4. That'll be awesome, right? Let's check it out. So I'm going to put this over here. So what's on top of this monstrosity is a Rasterops Colorboard 264 from 1989. This gives you millions of colors on an external screen using these 12 Toshiba RAM chips. And it's basically like a NuBus video card, but specific to the SE30. It only usually works in the PDS slot right on the board, but we've added some stuff here to make it so we can use other stuff at the same time. This will be the last thing that I add to here. The next thing on this pile of stuff is this Daystar O40 card. This is actually a card designed to go in a Mac 2 CI, but they made adapters to go into other machines, like this is an adapter to put this board, it would plug in like that, into a Mac 2X. And that would plug into the CPU socket. You put the original CPU there, and then this hangs off. And basically this gives you a 2CI cache card socket in a 2X. I'm not going to use this because it's more cool in the SE30. So this has a 33 megahertz 68 LC040 on it, and eventually I want to put a full 68040 on it with a FPU. But for now, this is what I got, so this is what we're going to use. And then the magic that makes all this happen, yeah, Geek, I know. I haven't got around to looking at the monitors and junk you want to trade for, and hopefully I'll have time tomorrow. I'll let you know. And then this thing here is called a twin spark adapter. What this does, which is crazy, is it takes the PDS slot that's in the SE30, and it turns it into 2 other slots. It turns it into a 2CI style cache slot, and then an extension of the PDS slot. So you can still use a PDS card, and you can use a 2CI style cache card. So originally the cache card in the 2CI was just like, a cache. So it would speed up the 2CI's O30. And then people like Daystar and other companies came out with accelerators where they're like, well, let's make a faster O30, or let's make a O40, and then there was even PowerPC upgrades, like a PowerPC 601 that can go in there, and that actually might work in this, but these cards are really hard to find, and what I have is what I have. I have an O40 card, so that's what we're going to put in here. So the way we put all this together is the regular SC30 motherboard, and this is what I got here. This is an older version that's got a ceramic O30, and the labeling is worn off from ultrasonic clean. No battery installed, and I'm going to leave it like that for now. Got 128 megs of brand new RAM and an original ROM. Now I tried the BMOW ROM in here, which works fine, but as soon as you add the O40 card, it doesn't know how to work anymore. It doesn't know what that is, and it just it actually gives you some a SEMA CMAC, because it crashes as bad as if the thing was blown. So we're going to leave a stock ROM, but upgraded RAM, and this is a really, really early SE30 board because it had a soldered Varta battery, and it has these giant, what are these? I think they're, I'm not sure what they are. I asked Bruce about this, and he's like, oh, that must be one of the really early ones, and now I can't remember what they're called. But anyway, this is like the first few months of SE30 production. So what I'm going to do, well, before I put this in, I'm going to put the floppy drive back in. Where did I set that? Oh, here it is. And by the way, the floppy drive brackets for these are the same ones in the Mac 2, like the full-size Mac 2 series. And they built them so they could sit side by side in a Mac 2, or they could stack in an SE. And sometimes these brackets are harder to find than the floppy drives themselves. Let's see if I can get that to line up. There we go. So I'm going to put 2 screws in there, if I can figure out where I put them. Where did I put them? There they are. These 2 screws right here. And after a while, if you've taken enough of these Macs apart, you will figure out what screw goes to what just by looking at it. Now there's supposed to be 4 screws holding this in. I only usually ever put 2 because it's sort of overkill. Hey Rudy, I took the solder sucker half apart, then I couldn't remember how it went back together, and I didn't even see anything wrong with it, and I decided it would be more fun to just build this SE, so I'll revisit that later on. That kind of mechanical engineering stuff just sort of drives me crazy. Anyway, the floppy drive's in. And then I can slide in the SC board. The thing is, most people try to slide it in from the back, which worked great on earlier ones, but what I try to do here is I put it in the flat side there, and then there's little notches here for the board. Yeah, that'll work better. And the only thing you got to remember, which I almost forgot, was plug in the speaker cable before you do any of that. Okay, that's on. And then stick this guy here. Stick that guy there, and then it should slide down in. And then these little tabs here should lock. And okay, I'm missing one screw. There it is. Gotta put the grounding screw in from the PSU to the frame. Back, back, back. Forward, forward, forward. No? Come on. Oh, there it goes. Am I sure that's the right screw? Check, check, check. Yeah, it's the right screw. It's a little tight. All right, so we've got an SE board in an SE case. Now, I could just start plugging extra junk into the PDS slot, but I think what I'd rather do is plug in power to the board, plug in the floppy drive to the board, and give this a quick boot test just to see if it works before I start adding a bunch of junk to it. And I'm trying to think how I can show this. Let's see, you can see that way. So if I push this way, yeah, that'll work. And then I take Clang, take this ADB keyboard and mouse. And by the way, the clanging was the old shell that fell over. So I'm going to take an ADB keyboard. I'm going to take a blue SCSI. And plug it into the back. Come on. Wow, that's just really tight fit. I think it's because there's no case. And then you need power. That's not power, that's video. Here's power. And we'll see what we get. Who wants to bet that this will explode? Yes, it's the Hulkintosh. It's the original one. Okay. And let me just do a sanity check here. Make sure I'm not going to make the room burn down. All right, cool. Power on. Just because he's got a light. Let me change the camera. Is it going to come on? Maybe not. Did I miss something? Oh, one thing to remember after you've messed around with the analog board is turn up the volume or turn up the brightness. I've messed this up so many times because I thought, oh, the monitor's dead, and it turns out I just didn't turn the dumb knob up. So here you go. Green monitor, green whatever. So about this Macintosh, it's a running 755. It's got 128 megs of RAM. And if I go into my utilities, I should have Tattletech right there. And we've got a 68030 at 16 megahertz. Well, that's nice, but I don't like that. Let's upgrade it. You go over here and shut down. It is now safe. Jack, yeah, I know 128 megs of RAM is kind of ridiculous, but it's actually kind of cheap on eBay right now for brand new Sims, for these at least. The 2FX, I only have 64 megs in mine because those Sims are stupidly priced. So one thing to warn you guys about is if you've had your computer with a CRT turned on, now you got to be real careful, because if you touch anything near that CRT, you're going to have issues. So I'm going to switch back to the other cam. And the next step is to put in all these upgrade cards. And I've got some screws and adapters and panels and other fun stuff here to deal with that. So this is for the twin spark adapter. These aren't absolutely necessary, and I've actually never seen anybody put these in before, but I want to follow the instructions. The twin spark adapter is the thing that gives you 2 sockets, and it has the weird angle on it so that it lines up with other stuff. You have to put this in a kind of a weird way. See if I can remember how this goes. Like, to get it through the bracket, it's kind of odd. How does that work? There's like an angle you had to do. Am I not remembering? Did it go? Did it fit like that? No. I'm not sure what the deal was. Electric boom. We don't want any booms. I think the best way to do this is the way I do an Apple II power supply. Bend it back, put it in, unbend it. Are you gonna go in, or are you gonna be difficult? Okay, there you go. That's the way you go. So I don't know if you can see that, but the weird angle of that card actually lines up mostly with the weird angle of this bracket. And what I need to do now is secure it to that. It's just a little bit goofy because of the fact that this was damaged when the original SE30 got screwy. Let me see if I can make this go where I want. Hey Rudy, when I was like 15, I was in our computer lab at my high school, and there was an AMDEC monitor on top of an Apple II Plus. It had a big crack in it. Everybody knew it had a big crack in it. Everybody kind of avoided it. But I put a pencil or a pen or something on top of that, and it kind of rolled in. And I was like, oh, let me grab that. And instead of grabbing the pen, I grabbed something with high voltage. That was a fun day. This is not going in the way I want. I'm missing something here. Let me consult the highly good Japanese manual for installing this. Hey VHS, yeah, I want to look at the desoldering gun, but not right now. This is more fun. Now, how does this go? I have the nice instructions here. Has all kinds of stuff about how to decharge your monitor, where the card goes, and then where the adapter goes. And it shows it the way I thought it goes, which is funny because it actually shows the card they cloned. Okay. Doing it the way I think it's supposed to go. All right, see you, geek. Maybe it goes like this. Oh, that makes more sense. One in, one out. Does that give me enough room for the card? Maybe. All right, I'm gonna put in the screw, which is what kind of size screw is that? Some kind of Torx. Is it a 10? It is a 10. Getting pretty good at that. All right. So I'm going to put the screw in the little holder. By the way, this is a plastic screw and a plastic washer and a plastic nut, I guess, just so that we don't risk shorting it out. I'll hold that there and then run the bit. Okay, I got it started. Let me put a screwdriver tip on here. I can't believe there's 8 people watching me do this crappy stuff. Rudy, no, I did not discharge the tube. I'm just very careful. All right, I'm screwing in the bracket. And I did say on the stream, if you're going to go in here, you got to know what you're doing. So don't follow what I'm doing. Follow guidelines. Like Adrian says, you can kill yourself if you do this wrong. All right, so we have a screw holding the bracket in. And then I am going to eventually put an internal blue SCSI in here, but I'm not going to do it now. What I want to do next is install the O40 card, where it would sit right above the hard drive, which is not going to be in here. That's where the blue SCSI will eventually live. We're going to work with an external blue SCSI for now. And come on. All right, so that pops in. And before I add the video card, we're going to do another boot test, because I'm going to do this one step at a time. I'm going to take this external blue SCSI built by Joe, and we're going to put it there. We're going to put power here, and we're going to put keyboard here. and mouse. We'll switch back to here. Let me get this screwdriver out of the way. Let's turn it on again, see what happens. Still boots, that's good. Welcome to Macintosh. There we go. Let me put this Torx driver away while it's booting up. Okay, it's done booting. You can't really see it from where I'm at. But if we go back to, oh, this does not work. There we go. Utilities, Tech. Now we have a 68040 running at 33 megahertz. So that worked. That's freaking awesome. You gotta do one more thing though. Quit out of this. Shut down. And let's add one more card. Along with a back panel adapter, which I think will stay in here, but I don't know. Might go in the regular SC30. I'll have to see in the future. So here's the back of the machine. And what we need is to fill up this little hole with this doohickey. Is that going to fit? I've never actually test fit this part before. Does that work? Yeah, it should. Okay, need a screw. And I have that in, where is it? This kit. See you, Rudy. I don't know when you said that. I've been looking, sorry. I just dropped the screw, so it's going to take me a minute to find it. There it is. Okay. I'll put this guy here. Ugh. Come on. All right, come on. Okay, that's going in. And that's going in. Good. excuse me. That leaves me a video cord here and a big empty socket up here. And there is actually enough room for this thing to sit here. But oddly, there's not enough room for this cord to reach. That's a problem. I'm going to have to make an extender because of this goofy setup I have here. I didn't consider that. And all 8 of you watching, yes, I screwed up. Alright, well what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bracket out of the shell and hook it up without being in there until I can make an extender, just so we can test. These are the things you learn when you're putting something together for the first time. Alright, so you come out of there. I'm going to put these all back in the baggie so I don't lose them. And we'll take this out. And what I'm going to do is just take this back bracket, which would normally go on the back of the machine, and I'm just going to plug it straight into the board over here. And we'll just run a monitor straight off of it just to try it out. It's going to take me a minute to set up. The stuff here, so give me a sec. Get the Kaiweets out of the way. Get the screwdrivers out of the way. Get all these tools out of the way. Alright. This is all broken. Stuff from the old SE. Let's move that so I don't step on it later. Alright, so we've got the SE. And we've got Blue Scuzzy, which I'm going to boot from. Whoops. We've got the ADB keyboard and mouse, which I'm just going to put over here in case we need to control something. And then the coolest part about this whole setup is that we can have a second monitor now that we've added all this stuff. Let me grab that. Here's a regular old Trinitron monitor from a regular old Mac. Plug that into that video card, which I gotta make sure it's seated okay. And I'm gonna lower the camera a bit. How's that look? That's too squishy. How's that? There you go. You can see the image of my chat monitor. So let's give power to the, let's plug the power into the screen. There that goes. And then what we want to do here is we want to boot an SC30 with an external color monitor and see what happens. Got a chime, got a Raster Ops logo, and we got a welcome to Macintosh. And we got a color boot screen from an SE30. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Ha ha! And since I can't see what I'm doing from behind it, I'm going to come around here and try to open up Tattletech. Color, still 68040, 33 megahertz. And if I go to control panel, sorry this monitor is really wobbly. We got two monitors. This one can do up to millions of colors, and the original is just stuck on black and white, but it really should say black and green, because that's what it is. Maybe I could hack it so it says that. So I think that's pretty sweet. It's a basically quadra-level computer now, running out of an SC30. Let me go over here. Give me a second, guys. Kind of worn out. All right, well, I'm tired. That was only an hour and something, but basically I took all the stuff I had in my head about how to make this Hulkintosh work, and all the parts I've had laying around, and then the twin spark adapter, which I ordered months ago, finally showed up this week, and I thought, I'm going to put together my green Mac, finally. And then 3 days ago, Javier says, hey, look, I got the Hulkintosh. And I'm like, damn it. And I'm not going to blame him, because it's a cool name. That's what you got to call the thing, because it's green and it's a Hulkintosh. But I've had it sitting here for like a year. And now you have to admit this one's cool, though. It's got an 040. It's got a color video card. It's got a blue SCSI. It's going to have Ethernet, because I've got an Asante SCSI Ethernet thing for it. And it's, oh, and the one thing that I left out, it has accessories. It has a green translucent ADB mouse, which works. And this is it's just silly. It's a green keyboard, and it matches. And it has an Apple key on it. So I didn't want to put a beige keyboard on a Hulkintosh. So I don't know how many are watching still. I can't see from here. I'm like Steve. It's like, well, I gotta look at this other screen. Says there's 8. So anyway, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If nobody has any questions, I'm happy to just drink my water. I see you, Ron. You're typing a lot. I appreciate it. Did you ever see anybody hook up a color screen to one of these with all this junk in it and not complain about the video cable being too short? Because that just seems obvious. But I'm like, why doesn't this reach? Like, oh yeah, I raised the video card up 6 inches. I mean, that case is barely going to shut. I mean, you can see it on the overhead. And if I change, let's see, if I make it the overhead, no, that's the wrong thing. Is that it? Yeah. Let me move this in some. I mean, look at this. This card, it sticks up like where the top of the green shell is, or where it would normally be a beige shell or platinum shell. It's within, I don't know, 5 centimeters. It's a silly close, or 5 millimeters. It's super close. Yeah, Ron. Basically, that card, it gives you 2 slots. It gives you a PDS pass through, and it gives you a cache slot from a 2CI. So it's kind of like this this OEM Daystar card that's for a 2X. It plugs into the O30 socket, and it gives you a cache slot, which is just a 2CI cache slot. So that's why a lot of these things call it a cache, which is really not super accurate. It's because the 2CI called it a cache. So there's a whole bunch of stuff from this era that calls it a cache, but it's really not. It's really more of a 2CI PDS slot. So it's basically, this gives you a SE30 PDS slot and a 2CI PDS slot, or 2CI cache. VHS, are you saying that have echo? This pink foam is ESD foam. Also, I don't really care if this 2X adapter works, because I'm not going to use it anymore. This is where I got the O40 card. I bought this 2X just because this was in here, and I had the O40 card knowing I was going to put it in the SE. The 2X this came out of, actually, the motherboard is at Steve's house because he recapped it and repaired it, but he hasn't sent it back yet. Right, yeah, because the 2CI cache, but it actually says, I think it says cache on the motherboard in the 2CI, so that's what they just called it that. I think I have 2 mics. Okay, try it. How do I sound now? I might have actually added a mic when I added that other video. I think I should get like 3 mics and it'd be like Dolby stereo. It'd be awesome. So, even though that Hulkintosh is working, I think I want to put an internal Blue SCSI, but I think I want to wait for the next version because I want the latest thing, and I also want to be able to have the activity light on the front. The Blue SCSIs I've got all don't have that, and I have to test the floppy drive. I think that one works, but I'm not sure. And I've got some nice eject gears in case that one's goofy. And then I have to build a video extender. And I'm not 100% sure if I want to keep the video card in there or not. I know I want to keep the O40 in there, but I'm thinking maybe I'd take the video card out and use it on a regular SE30 and put a true Ethernet card in there. Hey Ron, if you've got an LC-PDS to 2CI slot adapter, it should work. I don't see why it wouldn't. Daystar made a whole bunch of adapters that adapted the O40 cards. Now I know the PowerPC cards are way more picky in what they work on, but the O40s really aren't. I mean, when I drop the O40 card in the SE30, I don't have to even change any software for the system to just say, "Oh, you have an O40 now." I do have to add software to enable a cache, enable an FPU. On the SE30 with a stock ROM, I have to do mode 32 to turn on 32-bit addressing so that it actually sees 128 megs of RAM. But it's fairly, I mean, O40 and O30 really are not that different. VHS, I don't think you could fit this crazy 2X card into an A500. It's about 2 inches thick with the adapters on it. And I could probably sell it, just that adapter, for, I don't know, $300. Whenever I get my 2Xs back from Steve, I'm going to test it with this O40 card, make sure it works, and I'll probably sell it to somebody who wants to make a 2X run quick. If I had another O40 card, I would keep it for that, but I'd rather have a 2FX than a quicker 2X. Ron, you got to recap what card? The accelerator? Because my Daystar O40, it's got all tantalums on it. God, I got really sweaty doing all that. Ooh. I don't have my front light on. That's better. I did get really tan though. All right, well, unless somebody else has another question, I think I'll end the stream. Let's watch the toasters on the dual monitor SE30, because that's pretty cool. Kind of like that. Let me turn off the comment screen. We can see the whole thing. Look at that. You got toast. Toast in green and toast in color. I don't like how my green screen though, it just doesn't quite look green on the camera. It looks so much more green. Like it looks like the case green in person. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody coming around and saying hi. I hope you enjoyed this. This is like a last-minute deal. I kind of got upset about the Hulkintosh thing, so I decided to actually build this stupid thing. And I'll talk to y'all later, and I hope y'all have a good night. Thanks, Ron, Jack, VHS, and Rudy was here, and Sean was here, and a bunch of other people. If I missed your name, sorry. But have a good one, and I'll see y'all later. Have a good night. Thanks.